dove in deep on this one, guys. I went back, I watched every fight that Diego Ferreira has had in the UFC. And he's a very talented guy. You know, I came away very impressed by Diego Ferreira. I wanted to like Gregor Gillespie more in this spot. I'm a New York guy. I'm a wrestler, right? I have a lot in common with Gregor Gillespie in that sense. And I wanted to root for the guy. But I also watched his UFC career. I watched it in full. And he's a talented guy, no doubt about it, right? He's averaging 7 takedowns per 15 minutes. That's very impressive. You know, it might be a UFC record. He's an unbelievably talented guy in a lot of respects. But when you look at the quality of competition that Gregor Gillespie is facing, Jason Gonzalez, Jordan Rinaldi, you know, it just, Yancy Medeiros, it doesn't really stack up to the level of competition that somebody like Diego Ferreira is fighting. Mairbek Taisumov, Anthony Pettis, Beneil Dariush twice. Like, I think that Diego's been in the deep end of the division for a while Gregor's been swimming near the shore. And, you know, when we did see Gregor take a big step up in competition, he moved from fighting Yancy Medeiros to fighting Kevin Lee, and he got blasted out of there by a vicious head kick knockout in the first round. And so I think that Gregor Gillespie is a very talented guy. I think that he's a very talented wrestler. I think that his ground control is very good. However, I think that, you know, anybody who comes from a wrestling background and takes up jiu-jitsu, I think that they could share with you this experience that I'll share with you, which is wrestlers come in with an inherent advantage at white belt and maybe at blue belt. But I think as you get further and further along the chain of jiu-jitsu, your wrestling advantage is less and less apparent. Take, for example, the Demian Maia and Ben Askren fight. I thought that this was a really good situation to look at as a reference point, right? It's not a totalizing comparison, but it is an important comparison. You look at that fight, and it plays out largely on the feet because Ben isn't foolish, right? Ben trains jiu-jitsu, so he knows how serious somebody like Demian Maia, their jiu-jitsu would be on the ground. And now, am I saying Diego Ferreira is Demian Maia on the ground? No. What I am saying is, I think that they're good analogs for one another. There's guys that are very good. There's guys that are high level. There's guys that are black belts. And then there's people that are absolutely world class, like best of the best. Mackenzie Dern isn't another black belt in women's MMA. She's like one of the greatest black belts that there's ever been in women's in women's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So that is like a difference in kind from just a black belt. And I think that what you see with somebody like Carlos Diego Ferreira, in that fight with Beneil Dariush, Beneil is also world class at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, world class. And they had world class exchanges on the mat. Beneil was able to take him down. He was able to use his wrestling, but then he would be in extended submission situations, reversals, sweep attempts. Carlos Diego Ferreira wasn't conceding positions for long stretches of time. I'd say by the third round he was conceding positions a little bit more. But even Carlos Diego, when he was hurt, badly hurt by a body shot in the first round and dropped down to his back to play half guard, even in that scenario, guys, he was very dangerous. He was almost popping out on the back. He was almost entering in on leg attacks. He was scrambling. He was moving. I don't think that Gregor's going to have this easy time holding him down and controlling him. I think that Carlos Diego, especially coming off this weight miss, you know, I think it could play in both directions. I've been having conversations with people on Twitter and really enjoying the back and forth. I appreciate everybody's thoughts and opinions, but I've been having conversations where is it a pro or a con that Carlos Diego missed weight for this fight? You know, I think that it might be a wash because on the one hand, sure, he drained himself. He looked like he was unstable walking up to the scale. He looked like he was visibly uncomfortable. His coach was walking behind him trying to make sure he's okay. So yeah, he trained himself trying to make the weight, but then he also gets to come into this weight, or excuse me, this fight weighing 4.5 pounds more than his opponent, and that's a huge advantage. Gregor Gillespie's already not the biggest lightweight. Carlos Diego Ferreira is already a bigger lightweight than he is, and now he's coming into this fight as a welterweight, 160 point whatever. He did not make the lightweight class, and I think that Carlos Diego, he's a powerful, dangerous guy on the feet. I think that an interesting element of this fight, Gregor Gillespie is a pretty powerful guy on the feet too, and nobody wants to give him credit for that. They don't want to give him credit for that part of his game because he got touched up by Kevin Lee. And, here's my other concern is that I have seen Gregor eat a bunch of shots, guys, because he was eating shots in the Jason Gonzalez fight too. Fight of the night, he got rocked, badly by punches and kicks at various points of that fight. What I think is interesting, though, is that a lot of what has landed flush on Gregor Gillespie in the UFC is head kicks. And I haven't seen Carlos Diego throw a tremendous amount of head kicks. Now, he does throw a nice front kick up the middle that I think he will have success with in this fight. And I think that, Gregor's got to mind his P's and Q's in every position in this fight in order to be safe. I think that the more likely finisher in this spot is Carlos Diego. However, I think that down the stretch, if Gregor is getting takedowns and if he's not getting submitted, I think that Gregor might be able to put it on him late. I think that Gregor could find a TKO in this spot, and I think that Gregor could catch him and knock him out on the feet. Carlos Diego, if I had to make a criticism of him, he's just a little too willing to eat punches. He's got a very good chin. He's a durable guy, and he's willing to get in the fire in exchange. He also gets himself a bit overextended. He'll walk forward with that 1-2, and he'll fire the straight from a mile away if he has to try and put it on your chin, and he'll just let it fly and follow behind the punch. And sometimes when he's doing that, he just leaves himself there for huge hooks, and he's been hurt by a couple guys. But I will say this as well. Carlos Diego Ferreira against Rustam Khabilov looked excellent. He looked excellent, and he missed weight for that fight too. It's the only other time he missed weight in the UFC was when he was taking on a powerful wrestler, and he showed up for that fight. He looked excellent. He out-volumed him. He put a pace on him, and guys, he only has 2 submission finishes on his record. I will grant that. But go back and watch that Rustam Khabilov fight and tell me that Carlos Diego wouldn't have submitted him if there was 2 or 3 more seconds in that very first round. He had the choke locked in. Done. There's no hooks, rear naked choke, and it was over. So Rustam Khabilov got a little bit lucky there. He got saved by the bell. I think that Carlos Diego Ferreira is a problem for anybody. I think that the weight miss has me completely passing on this fight. I also would say that Gregor is the side. I think that I would line Gregor as the favorite, but I would not be rushing to the window to bet on Gregor Gillespie in this spot because I have some concerns. I think that, we might come out of this fight and say, oh my God, Gregor looked like he was minus 300. He had the back the whole time. He did what, and I'll eat my words if that's the case, but I just think that Carlos Diego Ferreira is a dangerous guy. I don't think that he's going to concede multiple minutes in a row, especially early, just hanging out on his back. I think that he's going to be looking for sweep subs and opportunities to get back to his feet and crack Gregor. I do think he's going to be able to land powerful shots. Gregor's defense on the feet leaves something to be desired. And I think that it's going to be a greasier fight than any Gregor Gillespie fight has been that he's won. So I think that even if Gregor comes out with the win here, it's not going to be as clean and pretty a performance as we're used to from Gregor. He's finally taking a real step up in competition. He needs to, right? He's 34 years old, and it's about time that if he wants to make a run in this lightweight division, he tries to do it now. The ship might have already sailed on both of these guys' prospects in the division, but we'll wait and see how it plays out. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and say I've got Gregor Gillespie. I think it's a dog or pass situation from a betting perspective. or excuse me, a favorite or pass situation from a betting perspective as the line closes in and Gregor gets back to minus 150 or so. But I think that, I think it's a really hard fight to call. And I think that people thinking Gregor's just going to walk over him because he's a wrestler, I think that you are underselling Beneil Dariush for first and foremost, but I think you're also underselling Carlos Diego Ferreira. And so I think it should be a very entertaining fight. That is my low-key banger of the night. That's the one I'm looking forward to. That's the one fight I need to watch on Saturday night. The last fight we're going to